So tell me where you began cooking.
I grew up in India, in Bombay, and in India you don't normally cook.
Right.
But I actually would hang out in the kitchen with our cook, and I would help her cut stuff, and then I would go fishing with my friends, unbeknownst to my dad, and we'd bring the fish home and to a neighbor's house and we'd cook it. We do what we call barbecues, where I'd make tandoori chicken, and I had an old steel trunk that I converted to a grill. I grilled chicken for my friends. So my first thing that I remember I'm making was a souffle omelet when I was about 9.
That's serious.
That was serious. And
The first thing you make.
and never realized that that's what I wanted to do.
And so what were some of the dishes that you grew up loving that continue to inspire you today?
My grandmother said something to me when I was very young, and she actually taught me how to eat fish heads. And she believed that you waste nothing, you eat everything, and you cook everything. The other thing I love to cook is I love doing seafood, because I grew up in Bombay, which is right on the Arabian Sea, and we would get fishmongers coming in every day with baskets of shrimp, of crabs, of fish, like just caught that morning.
Right. The Bombay duck.
The Bombay duck is incredible, but shrimp was our favorite, and so I always try to have shrimp on my menu because I love cooking shrimp.
And so when did you decide, going from, okay, I love food and I love cooking, to this might be a career path?
Right through growing up, I thought, like every good Indian kid, that I was going to be a doctor.
Of course.
So after I finished high school, I went for my undergrad biochemistry, and still thought that I was going to do medicine after that. In my third year, it was a 4-year program, I was reading a book on hospital, a fiction book by Arthur Haley called Hotel. And when I read that book, it totally influenced me. It's like, wow, I could do that, because I had been cooking for my friends. I enjoyed being the host. I enjoyed throwing parties. To go to hospitality school, I have to do an internship in the kitchen. And when I do the internship, I realized that I'm really good at this. And that's when I decided that I was going to stay in the kitchen after my first year.
And then you left India. Why was that choice to go to Europe and then come to the US, and how has that influenced you in your cooking today?
I left India because I realized that at that time there was no future, there was no respect per se in the job that I was doing. So I decided to go to Europe to study, which would be, for me, was my stepping stone out of India. So I went there, and once I reached Switzerland and went to school and started working in restaurants, I realized that this was incredible, because it didn't matter what you did. And people looked up to these restaurant people and chefs, and I was like, this could be something that was really good for me. So that's the reason, after I went to Switzerland, I realized that I was going to come to the United States.
You're going to cook a recipe today that's reminiscent of your childhood and all of your inspirations. You mentioned shrimp before. What are we going to be making?
It's the black pepper shrimp, and the reason why I do it is because I love black pepper. It's got coriander seed in there, and the black pepper, the heat of the black pepper works with the sweetness of the shrimp, and it hits with a little spritz of lime. So this is my going back to my roots of growing up and going home for lunch from school and seeing shrimp on the table. So this always takes me back to that place.
Well, will you show us the steps?
I would love to. Okay, so to make our black pepper shrimp, the first thing we're going to start with is coriander seed and black pepper. And we're going to take equal parts of coriander seed and black pepper, and we're going to grind them in a coffee grinder, what I call my spice grinder. So you're going to take 2 tablespoons of black pepper, and I'm going to start grinding it first because it's kind of a little harder and it's going to take a little longer to grind. If we put them together, it's not going to grind the same. And I prefer using freshly ground black pepper because it has more of an aroma, which you lose when it's pre-ground. And then I'm going to add my coriander to the same thing, 2 tablespoons of coriander seed, and we're going to grind this together. I don't get it too fine. I keep it a little coarse because I want a little bit of texture to the spice. And then very simply, I add the shrimp in a bowl and lightly season it with the spice. I normally do this. You can do this a day before, and once you keep it in the fridge, it stays. And then I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to this. It's 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then what I do is I put it back in a tray. What I do at home, I put it on a Ziploc bag, and we let this marinate for a minimum of 2 hours, maximum of about, I'd say 24 hours. So we're using a wood grill, and what I like to do is I like to get my wood, I like the wood to burn so it turns into live coals, and I bring it over so you get some amount of smoke but not too much. You can use a charcoal grill if you have one. You could use a broiler if you have a broiler, and if you don't have a gas grill or any grill, you could even use a saute pan. But I love using skewers if I'm going to use it on the grill, because what happens is if you put a single shrimp on the grill, every time you try to turn it over, it's a lot of work. And I sometimes tend to also use 2 skewers so they don't turn up too much. So now our shrimp are ready. I'm going to season them with a little bit of salt. I'm going to lightly oil my grill, and I like to use canola oil. So you go right on the grill, and I'm going to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes because my grill is not that hot. If you have a hotter grill, you can go faster. Our shrimp are done, and as you can see, it's not overcooked, so it's not scrunched up and dry. So we're gonna head over and we're gonna taste it. So now that our shrimp are cooked, I'm gonna spritz it with a little bit of lime juice. We're gonna take the skewers off. This is our black pepper shrimp with coriander and lime.